I want to go to Iowa, to the Amana Colonies, and learn of Mother's past. His jaw went slack, and the pipe slipped a notch before he clamped his lips tight around the stem. Confusion clouded his dark eyes, and he shook his head. Foolishness. It isn't, I argued. I've given the matter a great deal of thought, and I believe it's an excellent idea. Could my father not realize how lonely I would be in Texas? While he would be at work during the day and even out of town for short periods of time, I would be left alone in a strange city with nothing to occupy my time, without any friends, and without my mother. Tell me, how did you come to such a conclusion? Mother would never tell me about her past, nothing before her marriage to you. Only once did she mention she had lived in the Amana Colonies, but whenever I tried to learn more, she refused to tell me. What can you tell me about her life back then? Not much, and maybe your mother didn't talk about the past because it wasn't of any importance to her. My father blew a ring of smoke into the air. When I didn't respond, he sighed. She did have a cousin, Louise, and they wrote to each other for a number of years. His brows furrowed. Your mother and this Louise lived in the village known as East Amana, and they were as close as sisters. At least, that's what your mother told me. When your grandparents decided to leave Iowa, your mother was forlorn. I was never certain what caused them to leave, but I know it had something to do with your grandfather. I didn't ask a lot of questions. Why? Weren't you inquisitive? A strand of hair escaped, and I tucked it beneath my black bonnet. A housefrau, with bucket in hand, opened her front door and prepared to scrub the steps leading to the border of sidewalk. She smiled a toothy grin. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen, my father and I replied in unison. He took another puff from his pipe as we continued onward. No, I wasn't particularly curious, and your mother never had any desire to discuss the past. Still, I knew her German roots were important to her. When she asked to settle in the Over-the-Rhine district rather than in another section of Cincinnati, I didn't argue. My work kept me away long hours, and I knew that until she learned English, she would be more comfortable among other Germans. He shrugged. I knew there was no way to change anything that had happened in her past. His answer surprised me. Maybe not change it, but perhaps you could have better understood her, if you'd learned of her past. He shook his head as if to disagree, but I didn't stop. What we learn from the past can help us form the future, don't you think? My father arched an eyebrow. Your youth fills you with grand ideas, Dovie. Wait until you're my age and then see if you feel the same. I'm not worried about the past or the future, but I do care about the present and what I must soon accomplish. My thoughts are upon my new job in Dallas. There is the sale of the house and packing our belongings. My stomach clenched at the firmness in his voice. I didn't want our conversation to end at an impasse. I didn't want to talk about his new position in Dallas or about selling our family home. I wanted to talk about my mother's past and who she had been before she married him and moved to Ohio. Do you know anything else about Mother's cousin Louise? Is she still alive? I have no idea. They quit writing a long time ago while you were still quite young. I think it was shortly after your grandparents died. Even if my mother's parents had been alive, I doubted they would be of help. They had both died, when I was quite young, and prior to my birth. I gathered there had been little contact and few, if any, visits in either direction. Other than my father, there was no one who could provide the information I wanted. He came to an abrupt halt in front of Kruger's bakery. After knocking the tobacco from his pipe, he tucked it back into his pocket and nodded toward the door. Why don't we go inside and have a treat? I wasn't certain if he was using the bakery to fend off my questions, but the sweet, yeasty smells of strudel, Apfelkuchen, and Brochen pulled me toward the bakery door. I stood in front of the counter for several minutes before making my selection, and then followed my father to a small corner table. He sat